welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Lee. We would do a lot of from scratch cooking. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I've got some stuff to use up in my fridge. So I have some eggs, I have some yogurt, and I have some cream that desperately need to be used up. And I thought I'd share my thought process on how we actually use it up and everything. So what I've decided to do today is we're going to make some butter with the cream, and we're going to turn it into a delicious garlic butter, which is going to be absolutely amazing on a steak or some steamed veggies. And then we're going to make also a yogurt cake. So I'm going to make it low carb. So I'm using another recipe and I'm just going to convert that and make a really delicious low carb yogurt cake. And then lastly, I'm also going to replenish my probiotic yogurt and fermented drink, and they're absolutely delicious, and I think you should give them a go as well. So come along and I'll show you how we're going to do it. So firstly, we're going to make the yogurt cake. So I'm going to actually convert a recipe and make it low carb, and it's going to be pretty easy to actually do that. So I have some yogurt here, some Greek yogurt that I made myself. I milked it and it'd be used up. So rather than actually just throwing that out or trying to freeze it, I try to convert it to something else. Either I'll make ricotta or I'll make some Greek yogurt. So I made Greek yogurt, and the reason why I made the Greek yogurt was I was going to actually make some frozen yogurt for the Ninja Creamy, and well, I might have gone on a meat shop a few weeks ago and my freezer is absolutely loaded. There is no room for the containers of the Ninja Cream or anything like that. So I have to find another reason to use this yogurt up. And what I like about this recipe is it also uses 4 eggs up as well. So everyone knows that there was an egg shortage, and I think it affected almost everyone. And I grabbed them whenever I could because, you know, that's what we do. And at the end of it, they became cheap again, or actually really cheap because I started reducing them and everything. So I grabbed up a few dozen of them and they're now expired, so I need to use them up. So they're safe in the fridge, but they still need to be used up pretty soon anyway. So this yogurt cake is going to be absolutely perfect for that. So we're going to start making that first. It looks pretty easy, so I hope it turns out just as good as it looks. And here's the ingredients. Pretty easy for this yogurt cake. And at first, I actually printed the recipe. I've never done that before. Usually I'm looking at my laptop 1,000 times. So for this recipe, we're going to need 4 large eggs separated. We're going to need 1/4 teaspoon of salt, so I just use pink Himalayan. We're going to need 1/2 cup of sugar, so I'm going to use a erythritol stevia blend as a substitute. Then we're going to need 1 1/4 cups of Greek yogurt. So I've got that there, homemade. Then we've got a teaspoon of vanilla, which is, you know, we put that in everything. And then we're going to need 6 teaspoons of cornstarch. Now, rather than putting the cornstarch, I've made another recipe where I've made a baked cheesecake and used some coconut flour. So I'm going to actually use coconut flour and substitute this. So rather than 6 tablespoons of the cornstarch, I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of coconut flour because it absorbs a lot faster than the actual cornstarch. And that's it. Pretty easy. So I'm going to be guilty and say this. These eggs are actually a month out of date. Now, if you keep your eggs in the fridge, they're going to be completely fine. But you do want to double check them after the use by. So to check if our eggs are fine, I'm going to do the floating water check. That's probably the easiest way to check it. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab an egg and place it into the water. And when the egg actually sinks right down to the bottom, that means it's still good. If you place it into the water and it starts bobbing around and then sinks, that means that needs to be used first. Anything that you put in there and it floats to the top straight away, I wouldn't use that. Into the bin or give it to your animals or something like that, but I wouldn't cook with that. So today I'm going to use my electric stand mixer, and that's just because I'm going to be doing butter later anyway. So I'm going to have it out already, so I might as well use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate my eggs. So I'm going to put the egg whites in here and the yolks into this bowl. And I just use the shells to separate it. And if you get a bit of yolk in there, don't worry too much. I'll scoop that out. So I did get a little bit of yolk in it. It should be okay, hopefully. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add half a cup of sweetener to my egg yolks. I'm going to also add a little bit of vanilla. And then I found out I had lemons on my tree, so I thought some lemon would actually go really good with this. So I'm just going to put the zest of a lemon in this as well. It's going to add a wonderful perfume to this cake. All right, so I'm going to whip these on high and get them to stiff peaks, and I'm going to whisk this until it's nice and fluffy. All right, I got a bit nervous because I did have that little bit of yolk in the whites there and they weren't coming together. So I did add a half teaspoon of cream of tartar to that. So that has helped it kind of incorporate properly. So it's nice stiff peaks now. So what we're gonna do is I've got our eggs here all beaten up. We're going to add our yogurt. And now I'm going to add my coconut flour. So if you're using cornstarch, you're going to add 6 tablespoons. I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of coconut flour just because it is quite more absorbent than other flours. And even though it's coconut flour, you barely notice the taste of it. All right, so we're going to stir all that in. All right, so now all that has stirred in, we're going to add our egg whites and just fold them in. Usually folding in, I'm quite careless about it and just use the hand mixers, but I'm not using them, so we're just going to do this by hand. So for my tin, I'm just going to use a springform pan. So I've got some foil here. I'm just going to place the ring over the top of that and just put that into place. That bottom shouldn't move anywhere. Just going to fold all that under. And then to grease the outside, I just use olive oil for everything. So I've got some in a spray bottle. That's it. So I'm going to pour this into So we're going to bake this for 40 to 50 minutes. I've got it onto a tray. It's quite runny, so just in case there's any leakage or anything. And I'm just going to use my air fryer today just because it's nice and easy. So I've got that headset to 170 degrees. And I think that's 325 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're going to bake that for 50 minutes. And we're just going to check it. Once it stops looking so jiggly, then we can take it out. All right, so I've rinsed out my stand mixer. I'm going to do the butter last just because it's going to make noise and I can't do other things while I'm actually doing that. But you could do that while you're doing other things. But just because I'm recording, different story. So the next thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a probiotic sparkling juice. And it's absolutely amazing, really easy to do, and it's really good for your gut health. So I've been doing this for a while and I find it does really help me. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to do. So if you've been on the channel for a while, you already know this recipe and it's really easy to do. What we're going to need is a sweet juice, so pineapple juice. I've got a mango juice here as well. And then we're going to need a microbe. So I've got the Saccharomyces boulardii, and this goes really good in the juice. And what will happen is the yeast will actually eat all that sugar in that, and it's going to build up this yeast in the actual drink. It's going to make it absolutely amazing and really good for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to half fill this with some mango juice. I'm going to grab 1 capsule of our Saccharomyces boulardii. and I'm going to open it and just empty it in there. So I'm just going to give this a really good swish and help that juice just absorb all of that yeast. And then we're going to top it up with our juice. We'll be about an inch from the top, just because there is going to be a bit of gas and everything that comes off it. We're going to put a lid just loosely on it. And then we're going to place this somewhere warm. So I like to put mine up here. That way I can keep an eye on it. After about 2 days, you want to start tasting it. And if it still tastes sweet, wait for about another day. And then once that sweetness is gone, then you can start drinking about half a cup every single day. It's really refreshing and it tastes absolutely delicious. And it's also good for you. So now we're going to make our fermented yogurt. So it's not actually really yogurt. This is a recipe from Dr. William Davis, and it is called SIBO yogurt. And if you have any gut health issues, including reflux, GERD, or anything like that, which I had, you're going to want to have this. If you have any of that, it's really good for you. It's going to help rebuild all that really good bacteria in your small colon, and it's going to get rid of all that bacteria that shouldn't be there, and you're going to be a lot better. My reflux has gone down quite a bit, so if you've got that sort of issue and you can't get rid of it without all that medication, give this a go. So this is my yogurt maker. It's got 9 individual jars in it, which makes it nice and convenient. So what I'm going to do firstly is I'm going to take the jars over the sink and just get them soaking in some hot water, just so they're nice and sterile, and then I'm going to show you how to make it. So the reason why we ferment these microbes is that you can take these on their own, but these are only 7 billion per tablet, and fermenting it will actually make the actual microbe count per half cup up to like something like 250 billion or something like that. So the more the better. It's going to help us refix our gut bacteria and everything a lot easier. You can take these, but they might do nothing. The other thing is you can buy these once and you can treat it like yogurt and make it again and again and again, and it's going to turn out great every time. So to make this very special fermented dairy product, it's not actually technically yogurt because it doesn't have the actual microbes of yogurt. We're going to need some full cream milk. So I've got some shelf-stable full cream milk here. Dr. William Davis in his video uses half and half. Here in Australia, we don't actually have half and half, and every time I've made it with half cream, it's always separated and everything. It doesn't look good. So I stick with milk, and then we're gonna need our microbes. So I've got L. reuteri and Lactobacillus gasseri. He also includes another microbe called Bacillus subtilis. I found it really hard to get, so that's why I started making the Saccharomyces boulardii in the actual fermented drink. Actually, you found that out in another video, and then weirdly, Dr. William Davis actually did a video after that, so it was pretty cool. And then we're also going to need some inulin. So I'm choosing the Now brand, and that's pretty good as well. So firstly, I've just rinsed my whisk and my bowl in really hot water. The hot water of my hot water system is really hot, so about 72 degrees. So I just use that. And I've also got my jars soaking as well, just to make sure there's no extra like microbes or anything growing on that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our milk, or your half and half, and we're gonna need a litre of it. I'm gonna put probably, a third of it in there. We're gonna add 2 tablespoons of inulin. And you do want to just stir this in quickly because the inulin does clump. And what this is going to do, it's going to actually feed the actual microbes because it's so long. So once that looks like it's been combined, we're going to grab one of our L. reuteri capsules. We're going to crack that open. And just empty that into there. And then we're going to grab our gasseri capsule, just one of them. And we're going to empty that into there. Now I'm just going to stir that in. And now I'm going to add my remaining milk. Now, if you wanted to use fresh milk, what you want to do is actually put it onto the stove, heat it up to 82 degrees, keep it at that for about 10 minutes, and then you want to cool it down to about room temperature before you go and do this. All right, so I've got my clean jars here, and then we're just going to pour this into our clean jars very carefully. I was using a plastic jug, but that has micro scratches in it, and I was finding bits of plastic, so I've stopped using that. I find anything with a sharp lip like this bowl makes it a lot easier to actually pour in. Right, so now all I'm going to do is I'm going to put my clean lids onto it. All right, so this is my yogurt maker here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a bit of water to the bottom there. I'll just rinse off the jars just because of any spillage or anything like that. And then we're going to put our lid on. Now this is on top of my air fryer, but the top doesn't really get that hot, so we should be fine. So you do want to make sure your yogurt maker can take extended times like 36 hours and also set times as well. So for this one, I'm going to go up to 36 hours. It's quite long. So just keep in mind as well, when you make it, if you make it at midday, it's going to be ready at midday in like 2 days. So that's 36 hours. And now we're going to set the temperature. So Dr. William Davis sets it at 38 degrees, which is human temperature. Now, the issue is with most yogurt makers, it's going to be like your heater at home. It's going to turn on, it's going to turn off. So you're going to have these waves of temperature, and it's going to go over that 38 degrees, and it's going to make these microbes grow really fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually decrease this to about 34 degrees. And that should stop that from going too high and making those microbes grow too fast. And I'm just going to hit on, and that is ready to go. So that'll just sit there for 36 hours. The first time, it may look a bit more like, I'm going to be honest, feta cheese. But you will get a couple of good ones, and the good one you want to use in your next batch, and you should get perfect Helvetii and Gasserai yogurt, or SIBO yogurt. And I take about one of these a day, and I found it has helped quite a bit. So I've just checked on the yogurt cake. It is looking a little bit brown. So I've turned it down to 160 degrees. And that's just because my air fryer, I find it does cook a little bit hot. So I've turned that down to 160, and that should be okay now. So now we're gonna make our butter with our cream, and I'm gonna show you how easy it is to do. So I'm gonna do it over here because I'm out of PowerPoints. So unfortunately, my camera needs to be charged, so I can't have my mic plugged in, so it's gonna sound a bit weird for a second, but I'll get it plugged in as soon as I can. I've got 2 bottles of cream here. This is just your thickened cream, and they use gelatin to actually thicken this. Any cream's fine, and closer to use by is actually better. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add both these bottles of cream. These are out of date, but I've checked them and they taste okay, so we're gonna use it to make some butter. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put this onto quite a high speed for about 10 minutes. And what you can see is the cream start to curdle, and then eventually it will separate, and then we have our butter. So I pulled this out with about 10 minutes to go with my oven. So this went for 40 minutes. And it's quite brown, and that's just my oven, so keep it at the 170 still, but just watch it after about 40 minutes. So I've put a toothpick into this, and it's come out nice and clean, so that is done. So we're gonna put that aside, and we're gonna try it out later. All right, so you can see now it is up to thickened whipped cream, and we could use that on a cake or something like that. We're going to take that even further now until it starts to separate. So as you can see right now, it's starting to turn a little bit grainy. And that's good, that means it's working. So see the whisk there, how it's very grainy. We're pretty close. I just wanted to get all of it off the actual sides and everything. So when you keep going until you see all the liquid start to set. So you'll hear your stand mixer actually change like noise. And you can see now, it was just curdling before, but now, look at all that liquid that's completely separated from the fats. There we go, we've got homemade butter. I'm going to show you the next step and show you how easy it is to do. So in that time as well, I've also grated up about 8 cloves of garlic, and I've also chopped up a little bit of parsley. That's all I had in my garden, so I just took that, and it's going to go absolutely amazing in it. And then we're going to add some salt and pepper to that as well. So now we have our butter here. What we're going to do is we're going to remove all the actual buttermilk from this. So this is pretty cold right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my hand to actually try and gather all this together. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this buttermilk off. I'm just going to pour it down the sink. I don't really have use to it. You could use it for baking and everything else like that. And then to our bowl, we're going to add some iced water. This is just going to stop the butter from actually melting. And what we're going to actually do is we're going to massage this. And we're going to massage this until this water is clear. So we're going to keep on going, just keep massaging it, and then we're going to change the water over and make sure that water comes out nice and clear. That means that there's no buttermilk left in it, and then if you're going to keep this in the fridge, it will keep a lot better. I am going to keep mine in the freezer just to make it a lot easier, and I can use it for like special occasions. All right, that looks pretty good. So we've made probably about 500 grams of butter out of the 1 litre, so 1.2 litres of milk. Pretty good, better than an actual waste product. All right, so I've just put my butter into this oversized bowl. Doesn't need to be this big, but should be right. And now we're gonna add our flavouring. So we're gonna add some salt. So I'm gonna need probably a good grind of salt for this. Then also add some pepper as well. It's a bit like a seasoning butter. And then you could add other herbs if you really wanted to. I'm just going to stick with my little bit of parsley and then also our garlic. And now I'm just going to massage that in by hand. Don't want to do it too long because that is going to start to warm up. So because I want to have individual portions of this, I want to be able to just take this out of the freezer, maybe a cube or two, and defrost it while I'm cooking. So I've decided to put it into these ice cube trays. So basically all I'm going to do is just squash it in there. All right, and there we go. So now I can just pop these into our freezer, and when I want a cube, I can just pop a single cube out rather than worrying about trying to cut it off and everything. Nice and easy. All right, let's see how this cake has gone. I'm just gonna go around the edges just to make sure it has it completely latched on. It doesn't feel like it's done it too badly. So I've just got some powdered sweetener. I'm just going to chuck that on top. My aircon, unfortunately, is blowing it everywhere. All right, so lastly, let's give this a go. Now keep in mind, I didn't follow the recipe completely. Oops. All right, so I had a little mishap. Even though I checked it and it said it was done, it's a bit raw. So I think it's more like I'm going to call it a custard cake. I'm still going to give it a go, flavor and everything. That little bit of lemon I actually put in there really brings it out and everything. It still tastes good. So I'm still going to eat it and everything. I'm going to serve it with maybe some berries and cream and all that, but it's still completely fine. Just double check it before you take it out of the oven. As I said, I did put a toothpick into it and it did come out clean, so I assumed it was done. Maybe not. So a small fail there, but still completely edible, so I'm still going to enjoy that. So I really hope you enjoy this longer form content. Let me down in the comments if you prefer it or you prefer just the simple how-tos and everything. I'd love to hear your feedback. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.